Okay, so it is 6:30 on the dot, and I'm calling this meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded by the Appointments and Ordinances Committee. If anyone else is recording, can you please let me know? I was thinking about orienting people to the meeting and the order of things, given who's here, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to do a roll call of members. And because we are all in person, you don't need to do any roll call votes. Hey. All right. So Councillor Webb. Here. Councillor Williams. Here. Councillor Gordon. Here. Councillor Bullock. Here. Councillor Golub is here. The next item on the agenda is to accept the minutes. Motion to accept. So moved. Second. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes? Aye. There are no no's and no. So then the next thing is just for each vote we make, just to write it on the top and then to check it off. Like Y for yes and for no, A for abstain. Okay. So I am going to take public comment now. So if you are online here to make public comment, please write your name in the chat. And I will take public comment first in person and then online. And sign up who wants to. Yeah, and you will have 3 minutes to give public comment. And I will go in the order that is here and then there. So the first person to give public comment is Stacy Miner. Stacy. And come up here. Come up here. Okay. And that everyone's here is to give comment and then okay. 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 All right, so I start now? Yeah. Okay. I always keep a timer for 3 minutes. Okay. Did you receive the resolution from the MNA? Okay, so I'm here. Okay, so I'm here to speak about that. Okay. My name's Stacy Miner. I'm a registered nurse at Bay State Franklin Medical Center. I appreciate you taking the time to hear us tonight. So I'm here because I'm proud to care for my community. I'm also concerned about how the issues in this resolution are affecting the care that we provide our patients. Right now, we are in contract negotiations with Bay State Health, fighting for a fair union contract to help protect our patients and keep care local. At the heart of these negotiations is safe patient care. We currently have nurse to patient limits that establish how many patients a nurse can be assigned, so we can give each patient the attention and care that they deserve. We fought hard to secure these patient limits when we went on strike in 2017 and 2018. Now Bay State is proposing to tie maintaining our nurse patient limits to bringing in non-union float nurses from elsewhere in the system. If our patient limits were removed or weakened, it would stretch nurses thin, increase burnout, and make it harder to keep experienced nurses at the bedside. We are fighting to keep our patients safe. We need the community's support. So I urge you to vote in favor of this resolution and stand with us in calling for a fair contract that protects patients here in Greenfield. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person is Danielle.
Oh boy. Everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Danielle Peck. I know some of you. I'm also a registered nurse at Bay State Franklin, and I just want to build on what Stacy shared by talking about what happens when hospitals don't invest in our local nurses. Nurses at Bay State Franklin are paid significantly less than nurses at nearby hospitals, and really throughout the region. At the same time, we're concerned about Bay State's proposal to rely on that float pool of those non-union nurses. These are nurses who are not familiar with our patients, our hospital, or the unique needs of a rural community like ours. At Bay State Franklin, we don't have the same support services as larger urban hospitals do. Our nurses step up every day to fill those gaps and provide expert, comprehensive care. And when I say they step up every day, they really do. That kind of experience and commitment can't be replaced by temporary staffing models. Bay State's proposal would undermine our rural nursing care model, leading to gaps in care, more safety risks, and a strain on our current nurses who we adore. A fair contract will preserve our nurse-to-patient limits without undermining care. It will make sure we can recruit and retain nurses. It will ensure that people in Franklin County can continue to receive high-quality care close to home as rural hospitals are closing nationwide. I've worked at Bay State Franklin for the past 4 years, and it has been an incredible experience working in the community in which I live, having previously commuted from Greenfield to Keene for my previous nursing job. So caring for my neighbors is of great value to me, and I want to continue providing safe, quality care in the town that I really have come to love. We appreciate your support and respectfully ask that you vote in favor of this resolution. Thank you.
I'm sorry I got your name wrong.
It's okay. It's okay. It happens all the time.
Okay, Suzanne Lowe?
Thank you. So I don't live in Greenfield, but I work in Greenfield. I've worked at this hospital since 2008. I started as a student nurse, and I've been there as a registered nurse working in the emergency department since 2009. I really value the job. I really value the work that we do. And I think that keeping it local and keeping it people who know the community is really important. We bring in travelers. They come in for a 3-month time period, and they get to know the population well. Someone coming in here and there just would not as well. And as my coworkers talked about, it's very different working in a rural setting than it is in a big city setting. And Springfield really is a big city hospital. I mean, there's one time one of our regulars came in, and we even can hear the EMS report and can usually figure out which regular it is and get some things ready for these people who we see on a regular basis. Like one person I know, and they would have peanut butter in the last 3 hours, cannot go in that room because she's that allergic. And we just know this about this person. And that is a real value. There was one time I had my back to the doorway because I was providing care, and as it went by, I heard the patient say, "Oh, there's Suzanne," recognize me from behind. And just as they know us, we know them really well. So again, I don't live here, but I work here and I care for your neighbors. And I think it's really important that we be able to keep the nurses who work here able to afford to work here. Everything's going up. We need people to be able to afford to keep the jobs here in Greenfield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't notice about cameras.
Our camera is not on. Thank you for saying that.
Sorry, there's a lot going on over here. Yeah, that's what Carol just told me.
There we go. Hey, everyone. Thank you for your patience. All right, the next person is Susan Regassa.
Good evening. My name is Susan Wargaftik. I live at 45 Forest Avenue, and I'm a member of the coordination team for Housing Greenfield. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. For the last year, Councilor Garrett and I have been working to develop the rental registry ordinance that you have before you tonight. There's also some additional information that I've given Councilor Golub that I hope you look at. During that time, we have spoken with the health director, the assessor, landlords, and other relevant officials to ensure that we are putting together something that is useful, valuable, and doable. The ordinance before you is the result of that consultation.
I'm sorry. It appears that I didn't cancel the law.
Okay, so that's okay. I'm not that's not that long. The idea of this ordinance came from an initial idea from Housing Greenfield. We wanted to ensure that all tenants in Greenfield had an understanding of their rights. We went to various agencies in the city and found that no one had a complete rental unit list. The health department, building inspectors, the assessor, the fire department, and the police all had lists that they used, but there was no common list which included all concerns or violations, or just basic information like how many rooms an apartment had. This was more than a cause for confusion. It meant that the city as a whole did not have a full understanding of the number and types of rental apartments within the city limits. To begin to get a handle on this information, Housing Greenfield applied for it and received a small grant, which allowed us to do a door-to-door survey of several key downtown areas which had concentrations of rental properties. Using a list provided by the assessor's office, we found that there were rental properties that were not on our list. We identified those properties through looking for multiple mailboxes and electric meters. At the same time that we were doing the survey, we also discovered that the condition of some of the rental properties was questionable and should be checked for safety. Our present system of dealing with health and safety concerns was to wait for a complaint to come to the health department or the building inspector or the police, but there was no proactive system to ensure that rental housing was generally safe. We then researched what other towns and cities were doing on this issue. We looked at large cities like Boston and Los Angeles and communities closer to home, such as Amherst, Hadley, and Northampton. The document you have before you is the culmination of that research. Our goal is that the rental housing in Greenfield be safe for everyone who lives within it, and that all relevant city agencies have a common understanding of where those rental properties are and that they meet a common standard. Councilor Garrett is ill today and unable to attend this meeting. I will endeavor to respond to your questions tonight, and if I'm unable to do so, I will do the necessary research and get back to you quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Then, is there anyone put their names in the chat? Okay, so seeing no names in the chat, close public comment, and there are no public hearings tonight. I'm going to go in the order of the agenda. I'm going to take the only change that I'm going to make is to discuss the rental registry before we discuss public assemblies, but the rest of that I'm going to take in order. So can someone read the motion on page, and just so folks know, if you don't have the agenda, that means we're going to vote on one appointment, and we're going to discuss the resolution in support of the nurses. And then we're going to discuss the zero emission first vehicle policy. And then we're going to discuss rental registry before we discuss all of the other items on our agenda tonight. Okay, so can someone please read the motion on page 7?
Order number fiscal year 26087. City Council order, City of Greenfield, Massachusetts. The City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council pursuant to Charter Section 210 affirms the following reappointment by the mayor to the Board of Registrars of Voters, Eva Carrier, for a 3-year term to expire April 30th, 2029, majority vote required.
Second. Any discussion? No, just gratitude. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, so 5 yeses. Thank you very much for that. All right, can someone please read the order on page 9 in support of the resolution?
Order number FY 26-119. The City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council approves the attached resolution titled "A Resolution in Support of the Nurses of Bay State Franklin Medical Center. Majority vote required." Should I read the resolution out loud, or can we assume everyone has read it?
Yeah, we can see if everyone's read it. Second. Discussion.
I 1000% support this, 1000% support the nurses. Really want you to get a fair contract. Slightly confused about why this is coming before this committee.
Because community relations is not meeting until after this council meeting, and we want to Counselor Brown asked me therefore if we would hold this in A and O so that we could pass this as soon as possible. It's part of the motion.
Great.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Just my gratitude for thanking you all for organizing to keep our community safe. It really, really, really matters what you all are doing, and just really grateful for you for organizing. Thank you.
I'm sorry that you have to have
Sorry
this
you're going
fight.
through all of that, yeah.
We are just one year contributing, you know? Exactly, right. It feels like
Exactly.
this just happened and here we
Yeah.
are again. It's a bummer.
It's like, you shouldn't have to, but
Yeah.
thank you.
And thank you for educating all of us as well.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Hi.
Yes. Okay. So you're free to stick around and for your entertainment purposes, we're going to talk about a lot of entertaining things, but no need if you don't want to. Okay. So that'll go to full city council at the next full city council meeting.
Which I believe is most.
Just next
Next week.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. A week from today. John's.
Yeah, we'll be there. Great.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right, so now, we're going to discuss the zero emission first vehicle policy. Councilor Wondolowski, do you want to join us?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
So for folks who are attending, and thank you, Director Collins, for being here. I occasionally invite people who are experts on a given motion to come and join us to answer questions and be here. So thank you for taking the time to be here. And thank you, Mark. Do you want to introduce Mark to all of us?
Sure, happy to. So Mark, thanks for being here. Mark is the Green Communities person for the Commonwealth. The person who was Western Mass has retired, so Mark offered to come to the meeting instead and answer some of the questions. And thank you, Carol. I know this has been part of the discussion at the SGIC and other places. And Greenfield was one of the first, or were we the first green community? We were the first green community. Thank you very much. In the state, in the entire Commonwealth. And so that brought with it some goals for climate change and reduction. And the state rolled out a new program a couple of years ago called Climate Leader. And that was kind of an update of decarbonization from green communities. And so there are 5 things that a community has to do in order to be a climate leader. One of them is to be a green community in good standing. Woohoo, we did it. I'm trying to do this all from memory, so I'll do my best, but having a roadmap for decarbonization. So Greenfield has put together a few different documents. And Carol can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's maybe just a little bit of tweaking, but we've got some good pieces, and Carol's done a lot of work on this. So the work is already in the works. There's a building stretch code, the stretchier code, as some people call it. So it's kind of future buildings. It doesn't apply to current buildings. Zero emission policy. And then you have to also have an implementation committee. So we have Greening Greenfield, and we also have the SGIC. So one of those 2 committees can fight it out of which one wants to be our implementation committee. There's pluses and minuses for both. So I don't want to presume because they're both wicked busy. But the zero emission policy is kind of our next step to be on this pathway. And what I want to let folks know is that the state has set aside and I think it's $50 million. So they're anticipating like 50 green community or climate leader communities. So 15 have already passed, including Shutesbury last week and Warwick. Ashfield is a green community, so is East Hampton. And I'm trying to think the other ones in Western Mass, but okay. And Shutesbury was, Ashfield was the first in Franklin County, followed by Shutesbury. So they beat us, even though we were the first. So, but what I wanted to do is just a little bit of urgency because there are 35 other communities that have started the process on Climate Leader. So that would plus 15 means $50 million gone. So if we become a Climate Leader community, there are grants up to $1 million for a demonstration project. And there's also $150,000 available for consulting money. So that is just the background of why this particular ordinance at this time. And Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, you're already keeping a list of all of our vehicles and have been looking at how we green our fleet anyway. So this isn't a huge stretch for us, but I'll stop talking. And if you folks have questions, and Mark and Carol, please jump in and answer the things that I don't know, which is a lot.
Yeah, Director Collins.
So I would just like to add or add some more detail regarding the zero emission vehicle policy. It is something we already follow. We now have 5 fully electric vehicles, and all the next planned ones will be all electric as well. In the passenger vehicle, light to medium duty vehicle categories, we have to have a fleet electrification roadmap for the Climate Leader communities. And I have that, and we're still putting a few finishing touches on it. But that has a plan of a replacement plan for all of the city's 235 vehicles to replace them with clean energy versions. And so adopting this policy is basically putting into official words what we're already doing. And I probably could have built the space shuttle to the Artemis 2 easier with a working bathroom than it took to install the fast charger at the police station. But if you ever get a chance, it's the most beautiful machine. It was so difficult. And that is still a challenge. If I may add maybe one more paragraph.
Sure.
It's never been a lack of will to do, EVs. It's been that the availability, obviously cost was a factor, buy-in is a huge factor, and infrastructure is still going to be a challenge at our older municipal buildings, such as what we just dealt with the police station. There was no available electricity there, and it was a minor miracle. And we had some really great people that I cracked the whip all through the harsh winter, and they were up there digging away. And but what we have now, which is amazing, and it makes this so much easier, is just the market has exploded. There's so many more vehicles available that meet all different types of needs. And now there's a very robust second, like certified pre-owned market where we can actually purchase vehicles that need no maintenance, that are basically brand new, that are still under warranty, and they're even less than gasoline counterparts. So if I may add just one last statistic, just so people know, in 2025, the usage of our fleet was 95,000 gallons of fuel. That's both diesel and gasoline, which equates to 900 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. So we have a lot of opportunity here, and it's just I'm just very excited that we're in a place now. The market is there that we can actually push this through and make it reality. And it doesn't mean any of it's easy, but it's definitely, I'd buy cars all day long. That's probably one of the easier things I get to do. So thank you for indulging me. And thanks, Mark, too. It's great to see him.
Thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you, Director Collins. We just really appreciate all the work that you've put in. You know, this is really just codifying what you're already doing, so we appreciate that. And thank you, Mark, for being here. Do folks have questions for?
Yeah, I just want to contextualize the conversation based on what I'm hearing you say that, so to pass an ordinance, typically our cadence is that we have at least one discussion to hash things out, to bring up any questions that we have and to get responses to those questions, at least one. And then sometimes it's more, but then when we feel ready to vote on it, we have a hearing. Here, and then it goes to the full council. So this is actually with like your permission as counselor, and you may not be as council president, and I don't know if you're able to answer this, but I think something we might aim to do, which is not typically what we do, we try to flesh things out here, but given the urgency of passing it, I think I still have a bunch of questions, but they're not to the same extent. Like, I'm a stickler for implementability. What I would like to do is see if we can hash all those questions out, both here and in the next month, so that we're ready next month to actually bring it for a hearing. Typically, we would have another discussion next month and then do it for a hearing, but it sounds like there's 35 spaces. You following me? I see your face. And so I typically like it all fleshed out. We have the language, then we have the hearing next time. But I think that we can hash it out and bring it for a hearing next time if we really work it in the next few months, weeks. So that's the aim I'd like us to hold. How does that work in terms of the full council? Are you able to answer that? Is that what you would also like?
I would.
Okay. So then let's aim to do that together. Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. So that said, like, as you know, I like things to be as implementable as possible when it comes out of here. So I know we had a lot of questions last time. Still have a bunch of questions today. But I would like others to go first with your questions, and maybe you'll ask similar things that I'll ask. So whoever wants to go.
Three things. The first easy one, on page 12 under guidelines, it says vehicle procurement, electric first procurement, vehicle procurement should be prioritized as follows.
Can you direct us? Because I also have a Google Doc, so I'm trying to keep notes there so that I can.
And sometimes the track changes. Like,
Yeah.
It's under guidelines.
Guidelines.
The guidelines.
Yeah, just the typo needs to be fixed.
Can you say that again? Because I'll write this in.
I don't know what it's supposed to be. It just says procurement too many times.
It probably, I'm guessing, should say electric first vehicle procurement should be prioritized as follows.
Okay.
So take out the word procurement between electric first and
Okay.
vehicle.
Okay.
The second question, you said that we would.
You actually hold on a sec, because to make this easy for everyone, I'm trying to write them. Yeah, and maybe that might not be possible, but I don't want you to have to go back and do it. So just, can you bear with me 1 sec? So under guidelines, okay, I'm gonna look for guidelines.
Which page of the resolution is it? That might help.
Do I?
It's on the second page of the
Second page of the
resolution.
resolution in the middle.
Under
Guidelines.
applicability, go to
Okay.
guidelines.
Do you want me to just take notes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Take notes separately, and I'm realizing the Google Doc that I thought was the most updated is not the same that's in the packet. That's my problem. So yeah.
And the packet might not have gotten the edits that I
Yeah,
did.
I don't think that the packet has the updated version, because what I'm seeing is different. It doesn't, it's good. Yeah, so is the Google Doc the most updated version?
Yes. And I did not, because I didn't want to presume, so I didn't forward the
Okay,
version to Kathy because I didn't want to overstep.
so that typo doesn't exist in the latest version. Okay,
Perfect.
yeah.
I'll write it down anyway.
Be good to.
And a lot of those questions were probably answered, but Happy to re-answer them.
So is there a request for Tammy to make sure that whatever gets into the packet is always the most updated version from counselors? Please, thank you.
The money that we get from being a climate leader community, you said we could get up to 150,000 for consulting. I feel like we need an implementation budget. We have plans for days. Is that part of something that is worked on in this? Like, do we get implementation money?
So I would let Mark answer that, but that's up to the committee that's working on the climate leader. So they would come up with the kind of roadmap.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So a few things. There's $60 million that has been set aside for the Climate Leaders Program. 52.5 of that is for the accelerator grants, and 7.5 million is for the technical assistance grants. So once you become a climate leader, you're able to apply for up to $150,000 towards technical assistance, and then $1 million towards an accelerator or implementation grant. The idea being that we wanted, these are likely complex projects. The $1 million projects could be a geothermal system, a solar PV system on a roof, and you might need technical assistance in order to do that. In terms of like decarbonization or implementation plans, we do have some other funding set aside for plans. And we can assign a technical consultant to you to develop a plan with you, like a decarbonization plan that you can then use to apply for the Climate Leaders Program. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how we're setting things up right now.
And the last question I think is for Director Collins. I read through it and I just wanted to get an easier brain terms. Like, we're not going to run into a financial issue where we have to buy like a fossil fuel car and then it kicks us off climate leaders. Like, there's more than enough stock available to meet these requirements with the budget constraints we have coming up.
I hate to make a blanket statement. But the way I interpret the policy, and I've reread it several times, and Mark can actually clarify this, I'm sure, but it's that we make every attempt to get a zero emission vehicle first as available. And one of the things with the market, I don't know, volatile is the right word, but like my dream, I'm still waiting for my 2 dream cars, and one of them was supposed to come out like 3 years ago, and then they went bankrupt, and then the other one is available like everywhere in the world but here. So we're somewhat at the mercy of the market, but I still think that, and Mark, this is where please chime in, but I don't think we would jeopardize ourselves if there was nothing indeed available that meets the zero emission vehicle. I mean, when we get into the larger vehicles, I think it's kind of the same thing, right? That we are not.
Yeah, sorry.
Please.
The policy only applies to vehicles that are 8,500 pounds and below. Which doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but
it does to me.
You don't lift up a lot of vehicles, I imagine.
Yeah.
But 8,500 pounds is about F-150, a Ford F-150 and below. So anything over that, like garbage trucks, like any F-250 would be above that. The policy doesn't apply to. You mentioned future financial considerations, and we do address that in the guidance document, saying that we don't have money to buy this vehicle right now is not something that we would consider. We wouldn't accept that as a reason not to buy a zero emissions vehicle. But if something's not available, then yeah, that's a good reason for it if there's just nothing on the market available. But I really think probably every municipality can make the argument that they don't have money this time around, but it's part of being a climate leader is to lead and to to purchase the vehicles when they are available. Oh, also,
Yeah.
I should add that through the Green Communities grants, you can still get funding, which I know Greenfield has before, towards battery electric vehicles as well. So just being a green community, there's ways to get funding towards those vehicles. And you don't always have to purchase them too. Leases are available. I don't know, Carol, if you've taken advantage of a lease through it, but yeah.
Thank you so much.
Director Collins.
Yeah, I just want to tack on to what we don't lease vehicles. That has been done in the past, but we're not doing that currently. But I would say that I was hesitant initially with the policy because of the cost factor, and it was prohibitive for the city. And again, the thing that really puts me at ease is this, like I stated, there's just just look, honestly, it's hard to make an argument not to get an electric vehicle when you start looking at the what's out there that's used 2 years old, or it's just amazing, and that just brings that price point way down. And the fact that it's less than 8,500 pounds, that's all of those things are, I don't anticipate that changing, and we've got it.
Ms. Williams.
So in terms of the categories, I understand, I'm not very clear on the weight classes, but obviously trash collection is not included. A lot of the vehicles in the DPW would not be included. But what about police cars? Would police cars be included in this category?
Police vehicles will be included when they're available, when they're broadly available. So, and that's how we've been working with our fuel efficient vehicle policy. So in order to become a green community, communities have to adopt a fuel efficient vehicle policy, which has to meet certain miles per gallon. And we've had in there since green communities first came about, which was in 2009, that once vehicles are available that can meet this policy, then we're going to enforce the policy. And we still haven't enforced the policy for police vehicles. And that's even we came really close a couple of years ago for hybrid electric vehicles for enforcing the policy for police to purchase hybrid electric vehicles, and we backed off on it because we heard feedback that police departments were having trouble with the hybrids that were out there. So we said, okay, if they're still not up to their standards, then no. But if there is a day when electric vehicles become the norm and there is a really good option, I shouldn't say the norm, but there is a really good option for electric vehicles, then it potentially will be. But it's not. We would still leave it up to the police in which vehicle they want to purchase. There is a GM makes a Chevy Blazer that can be outfitted as a police vehicle now, and it's I think there are a few options out there, but I wouldn't say that it's well available out there.
And we already have a police vehicle that's EV.
We do.
We do.
And also in looking, I just looked through the revised language, and I really, was worried about this being implementable. And I'm looking at the difference between the Google Doc and what's in our packet. And I search for the word available, and I can't, not 100% certain, but my sense of looking at the new language is it really is reflecting what Mark was saying, that it's really about if it's available.
And
That's
the
what
word
I'm
in there is
seeing.
practicable.
Right.
And that's sort of kind of our out if there is not a vehicle that meets what we need.
Yep. Counselor Williams and then Counselor Gordon.
Okay, so the reason I raise this is because I know that one of the budget issues that's coming up is the need for police vehicles now.
Mhm.
And then the question I have is, could this cover, would that $1 million be available for that?
Could I
Purchase.
add to that? Like, the Citizens Academy talked with Dodge about the fuel efficient cars that they have, and they're over budget by like 40,000 on maintenance of the fuel efficient vehicles. That's not the EV they just got, but the fuel efficient vehicles. And so I'm also wondering if we can address that part, but yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I mean, it sounds like there's a series of steps of committee, this and that, you have to go through in order to get the money, the $1 million.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know if a police vehicle would be a good demonstration project that helps us to,
Great.
so just putting it out there.
Okay,
But there,
I was trying to resolve a budget question at the
well, I
same
think
time.
there's, did I hear right that there is money through Green Communities to help buy electric vehicles, which the police use for their current electric?
So there is money right now
Yes,
available to do some of that purchasing,
yes, for Green Communities, and we are one.
and we are one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Different cars here.
Yeah, it's a set amount of money. Carol, I think you're a climate or especially eligible in this.
We were,
fund
yep.
too,
yep.
So it would have
We
been,
actually got 30,000 toward the Lightning
oh, that's right.
that we
Yeah.
purchased, which was fabulous. And we're eligible for the state incentive. So that was kind of a surprise at the end.
So it wouldn't cover the full amount of a police vehicle, but it would be money towards that.
And it's available roughly, I mean, I guess it's not official, but it's like every 2 years. So we just got it this past year.
Yeah, you can't have more than one Green Communities grant out for the competitive grant. So you'd have to complete that grant before you apply for the other one. Nobody has requested vehicles through the accelerator grant yet. I think they have larger projects in mind. I would need the question through the means of combis before I would answer that. I wouldn't be able to answer over here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing to keep in mind is an electric vehicle has almost no maintenance. So you're not doing oil changes like all the other stuff. It's a much cheaper car to maintain, but it's more expensive on the front end.
Right.
But because of the market, there's so many more coming onto market for used cars. Even after a year or two, the price is dropped in half.
Oh, okay,
Which
good.
is really helpful.
Okay.
Well, and especially considering the price of gas
Yeah.
right now. I mean, we know it's bad here. I just came back from Arizona where it's over $5 a gallon. So the more we can get the city off of needing to buy however many hundreds of thousands of gallons of gas, the better. I think I'm curious to dig into, like, I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but like the word practicable does seem to be doing a heck of a lot of work there. And I'm curious, Margaret, I will admit it made me a little nervous to hear you say that, cost is not a good reason for us not to get a vehicle, but availability is, because of course those things work very much in tandem, right? And like, if availability goes down for whatever reason, even if we don't expect it to do that, prices will go up. And, our tax revenue isn't going to go up. And so like, I don't want us to get stuck in a place where like, we just can't afford it, but we've, gotten ourselves committed to having to spend whatever amount of money in order to be able to get one of these vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think generally where you're going to see this enforced are if there are common vehicles out there that you would be able to purchase. We're not going to say, there's a lot of small electric vehicle companies like one-offs that were coming out for a little while. We're not going to say you have to buy this one from like when Tesla first started or something. We're not going to say you have to go out and buy like a Tesla in that manner. But if something's being offered by GM and it's a common vehicle that could likely be purchased off of the state contract, and that's more likely going to be enforceable in this case. And that sounds more practical. And you're right, it is doing a lot of work in here, but like I said before, really every community could make the argument that we don't want to spend this much more because budgets are tight, because budgets are always tight. So we did have to have some language in there saying the financial factor isn't going to be a reason to kind of get out of the policy.
Got it. So it's basically like if we were buying a vehicle anyway, if you saw us buying a vehicle that, might cost a gas vehicle that might cost a little less than the electric equivalent, but you know that the electric equivalent is widely available, then that would be on us for, not having made the right choice on that. But like, if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars more, that's a different story. Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds
And,
right.
and really, I mean, for light duty vehicles, almost you're going to be able to find a light duty vehicle that could really meet all of your needs right now. I don't think you would be able. I can't think of a need that you would have that wouldn't be met by something that's already out there on the market.
Dr. Collins? Do you have?
I was just going to add, say what Mark said. The only class, and again, because the market's constantly shifting, is like small vans. Those are kind of going away. But I still think, again, we're looking at cars that are what would be considered like passenger vehicles. So there's an abundance across the spectrum. And I think, again, that, I had pause before, I don't anymore because of all of those things. And the market.
I think that, I don't know how, only if this is like, doesn't take hours and hours of your time, but I imagine that it could be helpful to have something in writing demonstrating, like, again, this isn't even as much of a request. I'm just thinking about presenting this to city council, and the big argument's going to be about cost. It won't probably keep you back from passing it, but if there's some easy way to demonstrate like these numbers to council when it comes forward in next month, it could strengthen the argument, but only if that's like easy for you. What comes up for you when I say that, Dr. Collins? Does that feel like is there anything that you would point counselors to demonstrate the availability of these vehicles? Or you're muted right now. Dr. Collins, you're muted. No. Dr. Collins? Hi, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I've tried to draft up different things, and when I'm working with individual departments, putting together specifics for them and options to kind of illustrate, and then getting dollar amounts. With the fleet policy, it does have costs associated with each of the vehicles that's being replaced. But I don't know comparatively. I have no idea what they're called ICE, like what an internal combustion vehicle costs. All I know is that I saw an article, you can't buy a car for less than $20,000 anymore. So I know everything's super expensive, but I can easily give you cost information on electric vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, or even that, just if we could have that policy in the packet, like that would be helpful reference, but you don't have to.
I'm hoping we'll get the final version back. And when's your count? Third week? What do we have? That's next Wednesday, right?
Oh, no, it'll be next
May.
month.
May. All right. I should be able to get that to you by then.
Okay. That would be helpful.
Mark, I was just going to ask Mark if your department has done any cost comparison between EVs versus, and I know the market is changing rapidly, so that makes it hard to keep it up.
Yeah, I've seen our department hasn't done it directly, but through the utilities, they had been offering a service that had a consultant look at your fleet and then make recommendations based on that. I will say that electric vehicles are a different animal because the cost of ownership is so different too that you can't just take in the purchase price when you're looking at the vehicle because you have savings over time. As I think Carol mentioned, sorry, Director Collins mentioned, I've known her for a while. It's hard to there's not oil changes. There's you have gas savings traditionally. Electricity prices are a lot more stable of a cost. I know they've gone up recently, but they're a lot more stable historically than gasoline prices are, which can be very rocky. Electric vehicles may go through tires a little bit quicker because of the torque. But generally you have to look at the total cost of ownership, not just the upfront cost for it. So I recommend not just comparing those two things.
Would it be helpful to get anything from Shutesbury, who just passed this in town meeting, which I think is harder to pass than among 13 people?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about the longevity aspect of saving money is probably our best.
Yeah.
And being able to plan.
Yeah, totally.
The other communities in Western Mass that have passed, so Warwick, Shutesbury was mentioned, Pelham, and Ashfield, those are all towns, but East Hampton and Amherst might be at least somewhat closer to Greenfield size in terms of fleet. Probably still not nearly as much, but somewhat closer. And those are climate leaders as well, East Hampton and Amherst.
Yeah, and East Hampton was the kind of first community I talked to because they're similar size to us. And they did some really great stuff in being able to get an electric vehicle for police department pretty early.
I have another question, but you can go ahead.
Well, I just want to make sure that we have, in addition to getting electric cars, do we have the infrastructure to support that? I see there's 6 charging stations around town, but are municipal vehicles going to be required to use municipal charging stations? Are they going to be, are they going to, like somebody from here could go to the police station and charge it, but could they go to Stop and Shop? And being the increasing gas prices, things like that, make me wonder, what is the availability of our municipal cars and individual private cars? Are we all going to be competing for the same resources? Do we have enough electric chargers? And is there a plan to support any more, considering that it was easier to get a bathroom working on the Artemis mission?
I can respond. There's a lot there and it can go on for quite a while, but we obviously we are, well, actually, I will just say there's currently electric vehicle that DPW purchased. It's a used Nissan Leaf. Again, there's a lot of different layers to this. Most of these vehicles are only being driven around town, so they don't need the 300-mile range that most of the new EVs come with. So that's also an opportunity to get a really good deal. And it also then does not need to charge a significant amount. So you can use a regular grounded plug to charge, and that's what they're doing. So it doesn't even need that, but we don't want, my biggest goal was to get the buy-in, was to assure any staff person that has an EV that they had a dedicated charger. So we do have some chargers, such as Sanderson Street is only for municipal use. And the one at the police station is supposed to be for police vehicle charging so that they can expand. And it's definitely, we do have a total, I think, of 20 charging plugs, they're called. And those are for public use. But and I forget I'm sorry, I might be missing part of your question, but so again, there's a number of options. There's 3 levels of charging, 1, 2, and 3. And for a lot of the uses in town, like I said, a grounded plug might work. But that's the next thing is the fleet electrification study also includes an infrastructure plan of what we would need where. And one of the issues that, like, say, where there are a lot of vehicles is the limitations of the current electrical service. So it's a much bigger undertaking than just adding chargers, but that's all being factored in so that
So
they're
I assume that part of that is part of, like downtown is included in the environmental justice area that we hopefully will qualify for grants to get things like that downtown, right?
it depends, but yes, when they're available, that the money's always shifting and comes and goes. But so far we have never paid a dime for any of our chargers.
And I'm interested
Well,
in
except for
getting a
the-
level 3, and a level 3 charger, which is the fast charger to downtown. And had some conversations at the MMA conference with folks, which be a follow-up with you, Director Collins, about just circling in my brain about how we get a fast charger in downtown so people will sit there for 30 minutes and walk around Greenfield
Great.
while they get their car charged.
Fast charger would charge my 29-mile electric battery in like 4 minutes.
Maybe you couldn't even plug it into it.
Yeah, probably not. Zooming out for a minute, love this. Definitely think we should pass it. Really hope we do. Thank you for all of the work that's gone into this. If this is one piece of kind of the bigger picture of meeting, these criteria for the climate leader designation, I know we already have a couple of the pieces, but like what else needs to happen for us to actually be able to submit our name and get that and beat those other towns?
You need to get stretchier.
That's
Yeah, the stretch
concern.
code
Yeah.
would be
That's the next thing. The only thing.
The 3rd tier of the stretch code. Like there's the basic and then the stretch and then the stretchier.
I'm going to turn this over to people who understand it a lot better than I do. But I was on a webinar about the stretch code, and it actually didn't sound as bad as a lot of people are making it sound. So
Yeah, so you're right, it is the 3rd tier. All communities, whether they like it or not, are on the base code. And then green communities, you have to adopt the stretch code. And then a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer now, we implemented another code, which was called the Municipal Opt-in Stretch Specialized Code. And sometimes you'll just hear it called the Specialized Code or the Muni Opt-in or Special Stretch. And that's the 3rd tier. And that there's more to it to make it more energy efficient. I could talk hours about this, about the specialized code. And I do recommend if you are going to be hoping to adopt this with council, then to have some meetings on it, to get public feedback and have experts answer it, because we don't want any misinformation out there about it, because there already is a lot of misinformation.
Director Collins, we spoke like years ago, like 3 years ago or something like that, about the stretch code. I'm wondering if I would like to bring it, like that seems like a next step. Seems like an important next step. Do we have the language to bring that forward? Any update? Like, we're going off now. I'm going to pause myself. We're going off topic. I'm going to put it on my to-do list to reach out to one of you about potentially bringing that language forward.
that we can easily grab. And then I know I've had a separate conversation with Nancy from Greening Greenfield, who's on the call, also Bram Moranis, about how we do some public meetings to do exactly what you're saying, Mark, to make sure that we're all on the same page. We made a list of possible builders to reach out to who might be in support of stretchy codes. Because we don't want also concerns folks working on housing to say this is going to kill housing in Greenfield, which it won't.
Yeah.
And there's some really good studies about communities who've taken on the stretchier code and have not had any decrease in building.
Question, but I don't know. It's about stretch codes.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
And I'm not prepared to talk about it tonight, y'all.
Let's hold on.
Yeah, where we are.
Yeah.
Do you have more questions? 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 Okay, I have more questions. And some of my things, I'm going to go through my questions myself and may not ask some of them right here because some of them are pretty mundane and weedy. I guess I am concerned about recycling vehicles. So that seems like more, I want vehicles to be able to be used for the life of their use, because creating a new vehicle can cost, in my limited understanding, can cost even more resources than making a new one. And I'm uncertain about the language. It says vehicles will not be recycled from one municipal department to another unless the recycled replacement is more efficient than the vehicle it is replacing. That makes me nervous. Is there anything that you all can say to this?
I think we tend to keep our cars until they're not operable any longer, but maybe Director Collins has another comment. I understand what you're saying. Like my phones, I keep on forever.
Right.
Until Apple slows it down so much.
Sorry, I definitely agree that we want to, make wise use and get as much out of the full life cycle cost, but it's very rare that we do any vehicle recycling. And honestly, it's, again, when it comes up, everyone's on board to find, in this case, well, definitely it has to be more efficient. So we don't want to replace a car just because we have it with something that's like a gas guzzler when we can get something that's very efficient. So I would say that it's a case by case basis, and all of the concerns you raise are definitely taken into account to come up with the best solution.
Okay, I might just ask for that. So like right now it says they will not be recycled. So I'll bring this to you. We can talk about it.
Does that have to be in there,
Yeah,
Mark? Because this is language from the state. You also.
Yeah, does it have to say vehicles will not be recycled? And I could share this.
Yeah,
It's already in our current policy. That's
It
been
is.
what we've been using since the beginning. And honestly, those vehicles can be traded in. And so that's typically what is done when, we try to, if a lot of times it might be a few different purchases so they can trade in some old jalopy. Sometimes they'll trade in like 2 or 3 cars that are really at the end of their lives to avoid keeping something that's very inefficient in the fleet.
Right, but it does have to say that they will not be recycled.
yeah, it does. And just a couple notes on that. One, you mentioned the life cycle of a vehicle. Vehicles, about 70 to 80% of the life cycle emissions of a vehicle are in the operation phase, not in the creation of the vehicle. So the vehicle is really creating the emissions as it's out there, not necessarily like through the manufacturing process of the vehicle. As it relates to recycling, Carol's right. This is in the current fuel efficient vehicle policy that's out there right now. We used to not have it in there. We used to say no vehicle recycling whatsoever. And we added the caveat that if you're replacing a vehicle, if the vehicle that you want to recycle, the vehicle it's replacing, as long as it has a better miles per gallon than the vehicle it's replacing, then it's okay. So if you had where we see a lot of recycling is with police vehicles, they'll have a police vehicle out there, they kind of run through it, and then for instance, they'll give it to the building inspector. And if that police vehicle, say, for instance, gets 20 miles per gallon and the old building inspector's vehicle got 18, then that's okay.
Okay.
Because it has better miles per gallon. But if you're trying to replace, if the building inspector's vehicle had 25 and you're trying to bring in an old police vehicle that gets 20, then no, that can't happen.
Okay.
And then another place that trips up a lot of communities is if the building inspector didn't have a vehicle at all, and you're trying to give them a vehicle, that can't be allowed either, because that's almost like getting a new vehicle. So those are just some examples, some scenarios where you might want to think about this.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that the vehicle wouldn't be like recycled into the market somewhere else. So it's not like we have to throw it in the
Yeah.
trash.
Not
Yeah.
tossing in the river when you're done or anything.
Yeah, so
That makes sense.
and it sounds like it's currently our policy. So if you change that, we would be then going backwards.
Okay. There's a paragraph in here that I'm wondering if could just be taken out, or if there's a reason why it's dictated that this needs to be in here about basing things on the EPA and using the mass energy insight. Like, it just seems kind of informational and could become quickly antiquated, and doesn't seem like it needs to be in the ordinance. I'm wondering if there's some reason that has to be there.
So the EPA one is where we rely on getting the miles per gallon for vehicles. And that was also in the fuel efficient vehicle policy as well. It's the fuel, I think it's fueleconomy.gov, where the NPGs are just listed on that vehicle, and they're not, a lot of those aren't even done by EPA. Really the manufacturer is who determines what the miles per gallon of a vehicle are. EPA will go in and check some of those to make sure that they're not fudging the numbers or anything. But that's why the EPA part is in there, because it references the fuel efficient vehicle policy. The part about mass energy insight is how we, green communities, keep track of the which vehicles a community is purchasing. Historically, communities used to have to give us a list of all the vehicles that they were purchasing. Recently, in the past few years, we've been working with the RMV to get that list so we know which vehicles the communities are purchasing. So that's why the part about mass energy insight is in there.
Okay, and like, that's helpful background about how you're implementing it. Does it have to be in the ordinance? Because it seems like those websites may not continue to be relevant. Things are changing so quickly. Does that have to be there?
So the way that the ordinance will, or the policy will likely be adopted, is that when a vehicle is purchased, you have to look at the most recent policy that's on our website. So I think I haven't read this in a little bit, but that's how the fuel efficient vehicle policy is written, is that because our miles per gallon changes. So when Greenfield adopted the fuel efficient vehicle policy back in 2009, our miles per gallon were much, I guess, lower back then, and through the years we've raised them. This policy is a little bit different because we're just saying you have to purchase zero emission vehicles, so there's no miles per gallon that would correspond to it. But really, what any kind of purchasing agent like Director Collins would have to actually refer to the most recent policy on our website.
Okay, so would you be willing to, I'm still wondering if this needs to be in the ordinance, would you be willing to take a look at this? Like, I have a couple of edity questions to make sure this makes sense. And that's like, to me, this isn't the type of paragraph that would make sense, because it could change. Like, the law, it shouldn't be that we have to look at the EPA, but it makes sense that that's how it's implemented behind the scenes. Would you be willing to just take a look at this and find out if it's mandated that we include this or not?
Yeah, if you want to submit something for review, I'm more than happy to look at it.
Great.
We generally ask communities to adopt the policy that's out there, and if this part is going to be on our website, then it might be a moot point, because you would always just be referring to whatever's on our website anyways.
Exactly.
But I'm more than happy to look at something if you have a suggestion or recommendation.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And you have his email address, Mark? Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, I will send you this Google Doc with these questions now. Actually, by the end of the night, hopefully.
I mean, I will say like the EPA has been tracking this for a very long time, so that has not changed in probably 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll continue.
It will have to continue even if the EPA gets to continue.
Okay.
Not to be a downer.
All right. Yeah, I don't need to ask any of my other questions right now.
If you do have questions, you just put them in the email. I'm more than happy to
Yeah.
answer them.
They'll be in this they're all written in the document. So yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so
All of
much.
you.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Really appreciate, thanks both of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Would you be willing to text me his email address so that I can check that off my list?
I would have to get into my council email
Yeah.
and then transport it to my
Okay.
text.
So when you're able,
Yes,
if you could text me, because I might not, I'll be more likely to notice it.
then no, because I can easily forward it.
Yeah, right now, that would be really helpful if you're willing. Thank you. Okay, great. Do we need? No, we're good. Okay, so let's
keep
go to the
going. We have discussed one of 9 things.
Yeah.
7 things.
Good luck, you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the rental
So
registry.
it's okay, I'm gonna leave. I support the rental registry. Thank you for doing it. I love it.
Let's hear the questions. Hello, thank you, thank you.
Good luck. No, okay. Great. So you don't need to read anything. We're going to discuss the rental registry. We may or may not have questions for you.
Kevin, can you hand that out to everybody? This is kind of, it's not a flow chart, but it's an explanation of who is doing what in the city in relation to this. It's 3 pages. Everyone should have 3 pages.
Yeah. So we talked about this a lot last time. I'm curious what questions are coming up in response to the revised version, if any.
I appreciate all the revisions that were done. One thing, and this is a maybe nitpicky process thing, but where is my machine gone? In the registration and permitting section B under application process.
Yep.
There seem to be a couple of redundant pieces, potentially redundant pieces to me, like so in 1B, it says permits must be renewed annually and are valid until the issuance of the annual third, blah, blah, blah. Permits will be assessed as part of the tax bill. And then in E, in 1E, it says property owner shall pay a fee of $30 for registration. Is the registration different than the permit?
The registration, the registration is annual, okay?
Right.
And the permit, no, they aren't different. They aren't different. And, so.
I think that's something that
Okay.
needs to be
All right.
rewritten to be
Yeah. Okay.
clearer.
Yeah.
If those could be combined.
Yeah.
If they're the same thing.
Yeah. They are the same thing.
Okay.
It comes from,
Now, I know this has gone through so many iterations.
Yeah.
It's like your eye
Yeah.
glaze over.
Yeah.
After. a
that's
while.
fine. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
That is helpful to me.
The question. Could you shed some light on why the police are a relevant department for the database?
Because they often are called to go to problem properties.
Yeah.
And there are times when the issue is, that there are questions about whether the landlord has done something or the tenant has done something and there's a dispute. And what we're looking at is, if you look later in the ordinance, the whole question of problem properties, if we've got a situation where there is a continuing issue of disputes, then there has to be something that's dealt with. And that's the reason the police are involved.
And the problem properties piece, I was confused on how that lands between landlord and tenant, and like if it's a noise complaint or if it's
It all of those things. So it could be anything from a noise complaint to a serious, the wiring doesn't work, And the idea is that what we're trying to do is deal with either, if there are landlord tenant issues, what are they? And let's figure that out, and let's make that happen, make it go away, make it better. And if it's a physical problem with the property, then we need to deal with that. And very often they are common. That is the issue. And there are also issues around tenants not being the nicest people too. And so it's dealing with all of those pieces.
so there's room for the complexity of it all.
Exactly.
Another question that I have is like the building inspector has to inspect a lot of units every some number of years, right?
Right.
In theory.
Right.
This also would call for a regular health department inspection. How do those overlap? Like, what's the relationship between those two?
The health department, the one place here where we actually have some coordination is with the health department and the building inspector. And so I think that the health department can work that out. If the building inspector has just been there, the health department doesn't have to go unless there is something that's identified as there's mold, in which the building inspector recognizes, but he's not going to do anything about.
Okay.
But the health inspector would go in. The idea here is that if we can have a regular health inspector who's not also doing 20 other things, that we may be able to deal with some of those issues a little bit more better than we have. Right now, it's, if you call up and you have a problem, maybe someone will be out to see you soon. But it's a difficulty because we just don't have staffing.
Mm-hmm. And remind me how we're fixing that. So
The fees that are in here are going to pay for the staffing, and we've asked for Michael LaRue to look at this 4 or 5 times now and said, "Is this enough? Can you do it?" And he says yes.
So the fee on the salary for this new position.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I have another question.
Sorry.
We received some public testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, if you could shed light on how this rental registry differs from the state oversight of rentals and why it's important to implement this along with the already strong tenant protections we have.
The state registry does not give the city the information it needs, very honestly. And that's been an issue. And when we did our survey and we went out and I was on that survey for part of the time, we found very quickly places that were not on the assessor's list. So whatever the state is giving to the city is not adequate. And sometimes it's just a case of visually knowing whether something is a multifamily or not. So that's.
And sorry, I don't mean to like ping pong back and forth. And the state law, like the enforcement mechanism for state law would basically be that a tenant would have to sue, right? Like what?
I don't understand the question.
Like if state law has, certain requirements of the way that landlords, do the upkeep on apartments, and landlords are falling short. Right now, is there any way in any enforcement mechanism other than
housing court
tenants take them to housing court?
Right.
So it would be on
what we're hoping to do is to either have the city be the agency that deals with housing court because we have documentation that says this is a problem and we've got to deal with it, and we've tried to deal with it a number of times, and this is what we've done. Or it has to be the tenant who takes landlord housing court. And what we're trying to do is take the weight actually off of the tenants and make it regularized and make it something that people can count on. They know that the landlords know that they're going to be inspected every 5 years. They know when that's happening. This is not a gotcha. And on the other side, tenants know that if they have a problem, they have somebody to call. But in the meantime, everything should be working reasonably well. And it's for this basic stuff. It's for water and sewer issues and making sure that everybody's electricity works. It's not for saying to someone you have to take out your knob and tube and put in breakers, but it is to make sure that if there's knob and tube in there, that it isn't sparking. That's the kind of thing we're trying to look at right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of these houses have been converted in some very interesting ways. We're not going over after the fact to, say, oh, this is a problem here. But if it is a problem now and was not a problem when the conversion happened, we want to make sure that that's taken care of. And there are landlords who are very conscientious and there are others who are not. And there are tenants who are very conscientious and there are others who are not. And that's also a piece of this.
Another question then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like if there are issues that a health inspector would, find fault with, that are actually caused by a tenant, or the tenant says it's the landlord's fault, the landlord says it's the tenant's fault. How does that's a real question for Michael Thoreau more than me. But the issue is that that's part of the reason for the housing inspector to go in, is to figure out at least what's going on, and is there a way to resolve it without going to housing court, and to make sure it's done. Part of the permit process is that whole question of, okay, we know this place was okay in 2026. It's now 2028 and there's this problem. Is this normal wear and tear, or is this a real problem? And I've been a landlord. I know that, that I personally have had tenants from hell, and it's something that, that is a problem, and we have to figure out how to handle it so that everybody walks away with at least the knowledge that they were handled fairly. And that's part of this.
Yeah, questions. So in here, it talks about, in the case of violations, the city will provide persons in charge with a checklist of violations to address within 60 days. Follow-up inspections shall occur within 30 days after the period for addressing violations has expired, and any remaining violations shall then be subject to fines. Are the fines listed in this?
Yes, under violation on page 6.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. That's the only way they're gonna fix it.
I wanted to just ping-pong back up for Rachel. So it also seems like having this rental registry can protect landlords in the sense that last year, 5 years ago, this was spick and span. There should be no reason that this leak is your fault, XYZ.
Right. I mean, it's fair for both sides, and it doesn't depend on, someone having to complain, because the other side of this is that it puts, it's proactive. I was talking with a landlord this morning about exactly these issues.
I'm curious what kind of feedback you've heard from the landlords that you talked to.
Well, some we talked to, and it was just, this is already taken care of in state law. You really don't need to do that kind of thing. But the small landlords, the one, for instance, I talked to this morning, they're not happy. they feel like they're already doing it. And then some of the stuff they are already doing it. And so what this does is regularize what they do. And so that's kind of like, but then, everybody's got a horrible tenant story that they can give you that kind of makes it so that if you can't help me with this, this is awful. And one of the things that I suggested to this particular person is that we're going to sit down with Joe Comerford in late summer, early fall, and talk to her about some of the ways that the state law doesn't work, because usually the issues are state law, because the state law was written for large landlords that have hundreds of apartments, and when you're with a small landlord, the issue is I'm just making ends meet here. I'm being a good landlord. I am. I don't charge big rents, and when this happens, then suddenly I'm in trouble. I got to pay. Someone does something awful to my apartment and just knocks in the walls and everything, and I end up having problems, and I have to fix it, and I have to pay for it, and meanwhile I lose rent. Blah 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 blah. So it's a question of how do we deal with those kinds of questions in a way that is more satisfactory than the way the state law handles them right now. So that's one, and he and I are going to do this.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah.
Does housing this rental registry in Greenfield and having Greenfield represent, like if there needed to be like housing court a situation, does that lessen the cost of the overall process?
I don't think I totally understand.
Like if it does come to like the tenant needs to, or the landlord or whoever needs to take someone to housing court because it's going through Greenfield and this rental registry would be cheaper than going through the state process?
Housing court is a state process.
Housing court is how it is.
Housing court is how, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a question of who would be the representation and what that would mean in terms of dealing with the issue. We have had situations where there are multiple violations. One of the things that we found is that we have multiple violations, but because we don't have a central registry, the fire department knows about it, but the health department doesn't know about it and that kind of thing. And when we can get that all together, then we can say, this is a repeat offender here, regardless of which side we're talking about, and let's deal with it. And that's been a problem that we've had.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make the argument that like, if this is like, if paying for the rental registry is like almost like an insurance, like for the landlord to be paying for that, to know that they're not going to get exorbitant costs later on for dealing with a problem. But
we can't promise depending on what the problem is, but what we can do is catch things maybe earlier than we've been catching them. And so if from the landlord's point of view, if there is a serious problem with tenant and we now have a list, of problems that have happened within the last year, that gives us a way to be able to help work out the problem or to deal with it, whether it's from the landlord side or from the tenant side. And we don't have that right now. So this would help with that.
yeah, it sounds okay.
Another question.
Go ahead. I'm ready.
I just love talking to you about these things, Susan. I guess I'm curious, like given that there are a number of landlords who are, kind of like have their axles up.
Absolutely.
Understandably
Yep.
so.
Yep.
I'm curious if there's an aspect of like the rollout, and recognizing this is not on you, but you've probably had conversations about it. Like if people are concerned about this is, a burden, it's going to take me a lot of time to deal with these requirements and I already am overstretched, like if there's been thought given to like a cheat sheet of like, here are the things, that you have to, because when I went through it, it didn't strike me as like, if they're, in compliance, especially after sort of the initial permitting, it didn't seem to me that there was that much demand on them, but but that's easy for me to say because I'm not the person resting to it.
Well, they do have to do their annual Their inspection.
Their self-inspection.
Their self-inspection.
Right.
But for instance, if we've built in here in the first year, a kind of grace year.
Mhm.
That's why part of the reason we want to get this done soon so that we can have that grace year. And so at any time during that year, they can have Michael Theroux or someone else come in and take a look at it and say, okay, this is where, you know, in a year, we're going to have an issue. So, you know, take a look at it now, fix it now. We can come back. We can talk to you. Let's make it work. So that's part of the idea, is to give that grace year to make it so that they're giving you a running start, basically, in terms of making sure that things are in compliance.
Mhm. And does Michael Theroux actually have time?
Well, he's hiring somebody soon.
Okay.
He has a
Great.
grant and he's going to be hiring somebody soon. So part of the situation is that this money will come in just about the time that grant is
Oh,
over.
great. Okay.
And so he'll be able to continue with that person.
Excellent. Thank you.
Now, will that person be the one representing the city in court if it comes to that?
I think that's going to be something that the city will decide based on the issue. I mean, we do that now on occasion, but
Yeah, it's going to cost like $100 an hour plus to have the city attorney represent. the city in court, so.
right. And I, as I say, that's part of the way things work now, and that's not really part of this ordinance as it's written.
Yeah, I had so many questions about the language when Counselor Garrett first
Mhm.
discussed this, and I'm like, he's done a lot of work in the last like two revisions of this,
Yeah.
and I'm really grateful to him. Like I read it through today, actually, and I was just really surprised at like how few questions I had. The only thing was incredibly minor, which, I mean, there was a couple of like changes to just make it make more sense that I sent, but was just the date of implementation. It said May 1st, and I'm like, we're not going to pass this by May 1st, so that date needs to change. But it says that notice of requirements of this ordinance will be sent starting May 1st. And I am suggesting that change.
Okay.
Because we won't pass it by May 1st. I think July, or like, if we pass it, it should just
Okay.
be.
Can you tell me where you're looking for?
I'm in L. I'm in L.
Okay.
So that just,
Yeah.
again, very minor. And
No, it actually says July 1st.
it did.
Yeah.
The one that I had,
The one you sent me,
It's May 25th.
the one you sent me says July 1st.
when I sent you, that's because I edited it without using suggestions.
Okay.
Okay. One of the
Okay.
packets.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Because
The
Oh, it
one,
says it should
no,
go-
it says it goes into effect July 1st.
Yeah.
The notices start being sent. in May.
Exactly. The first L1 needs to change.
okay.
And I apologize
L1.
that I said.
The notice of requirements will be sent starting, you said July, now says July 1st on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm making
Okay.
this edit in the document. in the
Okay.
Google Doc. I edited it
Okay.
erroneously.
Okay.
And re-edited my suggestion.
The requirements are sent out in June.
Well, if the ordinance goes into effect on July 1st, probably the notices should be sent out after that, or the ordinance shall go into effect immediately, right? Like, as soon as we pass it, it should be in effect.
Yeah.
I think.
Right?
Yeah.
So the ordinance shall go into effect immediately upon passage. And then notice of requirements of this ordinance will be sent out. Will they be ready to send them out the first day of the month following the passage of the ordinance? Is that?
It depends on when the ordinance is passed.
Right,
Yeah.
so like if it's, would it give them enough time to have that like week and a half between the third Wednesday of the month when we pass it and the first of?
So you're saying that you expect the ordinance to be passed in June?
I'm saying, I hope it's passed. I think that we're ready to put it forward actually in May. It won't pass in, I'm not gonna have us talking about ordinances in June.
Okay.
Right. Because of the budget.
Right.
So I'm actually hoping it's passed in May.
Right.
I think that given this conversation, I think that, and I want to check in this is me thinking.
Yeah.
I think we're ready for a hearing in May. Now that I'm saying that, do you all hear that? So we're ready for a hearing in May, and therefore it would be passed in May. And so the ordinance shall go into effect immediately upon passage. And then if that doesn't happen, because we can't determine what the council votes, I just think the easiest language is notice of the requirements of this ordinance shall be spent on the first of the month following the
Okay,
month that's passed.
okay, yep.
Okay, and I'll write this into the Google Doc, just send the first of the month following passage.
Yep. That's fine.
We have other sort of like nitpicky little things. I don't want to take your time with it right now, but should I email you and John?
Yeah, email us and we'll get them done.
And you're also on this, I have a Google Doc. You've looked at it. We can't share it with other counselors because that would create a forum, but you could also, I'm putting things, I put your question about those two clauses up above. And I said, Rachel asked a question about these, please bring them together. So I would just, no one else can do that.
I just have a more public facing question. Just with the specifics of like a landlord with 6 units or more, or max up to 1,000, like all of that was created and crafted to meet the salary demands, or
I don't know. It was crafted in relation to, that's what Michael asked. We had actually started with 4 units or more, and Michael said 6 units makes more sense in terms of what his experience has been in inspection.
got it. Okay.
So units like mine, it's a house that was 3 apartments, won't even be affected.
No.
But if your landlord owns
Unless
multiple
you-
houses,
If your landlord owns multiple houses.
Oh, I don't
then
know. I see them like once every 5 years and that's how I like it.
Yeah, it's an ownership question.
Yeah.
So if we have, because we've got a lot of buildings that are small,
Yeah.
but we have landlords who own multiple buildings. So for instance, the landlord I was talking to this morning owns 8. So he's going to be impacted. And, we had that discussion. Mhm.
probably would never work, but is there a way to put a clause in about not passing the cost on to renters?
Can't promise that, the cost of, what we tried to do is make the cost low enough so that it would not, even if it's passed on to renters, it's not $100. It's $30 a year. And it should be possible for the landlord within the structure of rental to be able to absorb that. And if not, if it does get passed on, it's passed on in increments of 5, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that was our idea, is to try to keep it low. But
Where
we
is
can't.
the incrementation of 5?
No, but I'm saying if it's $30 a year for the apartment,
Less than $5.
less than $5,
Yeah.
but $5 a month or something like that, so that it would not be saying
Addition of but is it $30 each unit?
each unit per year.
75 each unit every 5 years?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Up to 1,000 for all.
right.
That's pretty reasonable.
And we tried to make it not burdensome, but also enough to be able to make it clear on what was needed and to also pay for the fact that we hope to get another inspector in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this person who has 8 units,
Yes.
they're kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
How are they affected financially by this? Like, what's the math?
There would be now a fee for the 8 units.
It would be 30 times 8.
Yeah.
And then every 5 years, 75.
Right.
And that still doesn't reach $1,000.
And the $30 is not part of the 1,000. Okay, because that's just registering with the city, making sure that, and we do know that they're unregistered buildings. So part of this is to make it clear that that you can't get away with that anymore, that you've got to register, because that also affects the tax base and, it affects, so it's part of it is, let's make this regularized, figure it in as part of your cost of doing business. and, and make it, a part of what you as a landlord does.
It's hard to go into the human rights business.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I just ask, will this be coming up at this council meeting next week?
Not
Not then. So it won't be coming up until May. Okay,
Yeah.
good enough.
So, note to Tammy to please put this for a hearing for next month.
Okay.
With the, whatever is the most recent language that Tammy received from Counselor Garrett by April.
Okay. We'll get that to him so he can deal with some of this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we want to get a pause every 2 hours? Hasn't been 2 hours. Does anyone need a pause? Need a pause?
No, not yet.
Okay, you're good? Okay,
I'd stand up, but I'm here.
all right, yes, okay. So public. That's right.
Assemblies.
Public assemblies. I linked the wrong document, so I'm going to take the document. There.
It's really so to be complaining about
Uh-huh. Perhaps.
this 8 person.
Okay. All right. So this is, and Counselor Brown, are you with us?
Hello, I've made it
Hello.
through.
You're still here. Thank you very much for being with us.
I'll be
Will
perfectly honest, there was definitely multitasking.
Of course. Will we be able to see your face or not?
Sure, let me switch from phone to computer and then I can get on my, and that should be, I'll do that quickly.
Thank you. I like seeing your face. Okay. So this is multi-parted. The first article, 1, was a revision that I wrote with some support from Erin Analt, because she explained it. It's complicated, but she's basically the head of the licensing department. I learned through this process.
I was wondering why
there isn't
it seemed like licensing and mayor were
Yeah, she leads the department. So there was not an appropriate department head. So she was part of this process. And first was two aims. One, I found the first version very difficult to even follow and understand. And so I first went one read and was like, I want to make sense of this thing. The next read was, how do we make sense of it in a way that also the 2 was reflecting current practice, because it was saying that the Board of License Commissioners would create all these things that they had never created. Use policies. So that didn't exist. So it was getting rid of that. And then just tightening the language to also be in accordance with the First Amendment and federal policy that supports the right to protest, and making it clear as much as possible to right to protest. As I was looking at this, Counselor Brown had suggested adding a piece on crowd control. And so that was a piece that Counselor Brown brought in. And I will say for Article 1, I had shared this document that had both of them with Chief Dodge, and I will say that he read over Article 1 and made a few typo changes. I can't speak for him, but there were no large changes besides typos that he changed from Article 1. And then Article 3 is basically remaining as is. So, and Counselor Brown is still I think you're still thinking through some pieces that you could speak to. You want to say anything about Article Yeah.
I would love to hear feedback from you all and also any members of the public about it if people catch this meeting. The feedback I heard from Chief Dodge is that the use of tear gas is through this special response team, which is countywide and with the sheriff's office. So it's not, it would require changing an MOU, internal policies, and he recommends that tear gas be limited in the same way as the other crowd control methods because tear gas is still less lethal and an intermediary step compared to use of a gun. So his recommendation is to consider tear gas, not ban it completely outright, but put it in the bucket of restricted use. That was his most significant suggestion. And the other suggestion was allowing a caveat when there are warnings about these use of force crowd control measures that as written, it says 2 minutes apart for the first warning, 2 minutes apart for the second warning. And he's saying that in a riot situation that there might not be that time and that so to just add in a one possible caveat and then around enforcement, just tightening up the language so that it's not redundant with the state police officer standard training commission because that's where officer misconduct is already posted and filed. So those were his, sorry if that's like doesn't make much sense. You guys have been in a really long meeting already, but that seems to be the main thing. Tear gas banning or restricting is the main like discussion for the public and for you all.
Can go first again. Yeah, so my questions were if you're banning tear gas, like that doesn't ban pepper spray, like that's still an option. And then second, is there like a regulation of when is appropriate to use these weapons and agents of suppression? Like, that's my next question. Like, how do you decide when to use it?
Yeah, state law governs like excess use of force. So Greenfield's already somewhat covered, regulated by that. And then this is just adding in additional protocols here about the supervisor on shift has to be the one to make the call and about giving warnings and whatnot.
But are there like certain like red lines that constitute using those, or are they just up to the discretion of the supervisor?
I think the GPD internal policy has basically like a harm matrix of whether not using it is causing more harm.
Is section 217-9 has, I think, some of what you're looking for. Restriction on the use of tear gas, crowd control chemical agents, etc.
217-9.
Yeah, it's on page 17 of the packet.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that answers your question.
Well, this is the proposed language.
Right.
You're asking about what the line is from the state, correct?
Oh, currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking like with crowd control, I'm at
Yeah.
crowd control measures.
And the state, like, as Councilor Brown mentioned the state policy, and then you're saying, well, what is that line? You mentioned the proposed language.
I don't see my question answered in here unless I'm not understanding.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's internal policy documents and the state law. And
Yeah.
and also just 217-9C, like the first step is de-escalation, but if that doesn't work.
I'm only seeing 217-9. I'm not seeing a
A, B, C. I'm looking at everything in a Google Doc.
Oh, maybe this is the wrong one. Jesus Christ.
It's on page 14. I see.
Oh, here we go.
Um,
Sorry, I was looking at the.
yeah. Counselor Williams has.
So in the language that's on the books right now,
Yes.
there's no discussion at all about crowd control.
No, it's
is
an
there?
entirely new article that Counselor Brown.
Why is it here?
Oh, Counselor Brown is proposing this language. It would be an additional piece. And I was just sharing that
What's the motivation for it?
as a counselor.
Sure, yeah. The motivation was that in Somerville, they passed this ordinance, and DC also has a similar ordinance about crowd control. And motivation is that tear gas is banned in international warfare. So why is it allowed for domestic law enforcement use? And also with coronavirus, then people are having more pulmonary and respiratory issues, and tear gas can have lasting and even lethal impacts.
Okay, but the language here allows it, doesn't it?
The proposed language?
I'm looking at the proposed language on page 4, and it's restrictions. So the use of tear gas by Greenfield Police Department
Shall be prohibited.
shall be prohibited, period. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Exceptions and exemptions.
There's currently no law, there's currently no Greenfield law governing crowd control.
Right.
So all of this is new proposed language.
There's 2 buckets. One bucket is to ban tear gas, and then one bucket is to restrict. And the restriction bucket is the one that has kinetic impact projectiles, which are like little Nerf guns, but more harmful, and pepper spray and dogs. And Dodge is suggesting to move tear gas into the restricted bucket rather than outright ban.
Has there ever been an incident of tear gas being fired in Greenfield?
There has been an incident of tear gas being used, but not as a crowd control method. But last year there was, in the case of staking out I don't know how much detail I want to use, but like staking out a house that after many hours, tear gas was used to have somebody come out of an attic.
What did Dodge say about kinetic impact projectiles and dogs? I'm wondering, and other chemical agents. Like those don't sound fun either. I want those banned.
Exactly.
I would love those banned.
I don't want tear gas, I don't want pepper spray, I don't want any of that. I don't want
I'll
dogs.
give you your pepper spray if we can ban everything else, but
I can
Seems
say that because I
crazy.
did share this entire document with him. And the things he said were he's wanting to include the words when possible and if possible. And he says that although this sounds great, 2 minutes is an extremely long time when things start to go south. There's no way to ensure this time frame under certain circumstances in this language will open up the city. That's what he's saying.
That part makes sense to me. I will say, just because like in a chaotic situation, nobody's starting a stopwatch. And I think that the more that you specify that we specify things like that, the more it does open us up to just legal mess. So I am compelled by that argument. I'm less compelled by the argument that but not totally uncompelled by the argument that, you know, if it's not this, then it would be something worse. I agree. I don't want any of it. And I understand why the police department wants tools.
right.
And like the last thing I want is for their only tool to be their gun.
Exactly.
So I get
Sorry, I'm like pepper spray.
there.
And also,
Yeah, honestly.
But what do we need these like
Another,
We're worried FCCPR is gonna riot. Like.
Yeah, but energy to fucking riot. I mean, nobody thought that what happened in Minneapolis over the last few months would happen there either, right? And it's a very different place than Greenfield, and I can't imagine situations in which this becomes relevant. Unfortunately, I hope it never does. But I do appreciate Councilor Brown, you bringing this piece forward, because I think that it is important for us to try to name at least some restrictions, and hopefully prohibit, what we can.
also one more tool in GPD's just arsenal is tasers. So that's something that is another intermediary before shooting a gun.
People die from tasers.
Right, that also causes pulmonary distress.
Right.
Yeah,
You don't
people
know.
die from tasers.
I think
I have-
there's limited liability too, because they have no way of knowing if you have had
Right.
pulmonary issues with COVID.
Right, I never even considered any of this stuff when I read the original Assembly's public. I was just worried about people getting permitted and making sure I never considered any of this at all.
Happy 2026.
I think another concern of Dodge's was just that if there is a rioting situation and a mob herd mentality emerges and people are breaking windows of storefronts and there's a scene like that, then tear gas would be the most, like in a truly dire emergency situation like that would be something where it could even have liability implications for the police to not be able to use tear gas.
Even if it's banned by ordinance? I would
I-
imagine that should remove some of the liability issues.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure because clearly it passed in Somerville, but that was just his concern, was that their duty to protect property, life, and liberty, or whatever it is, but.
Property.
You can take that to a lot of different extremes though.
Yeah, I'm hung up on the tear gas not allowed in international warfare. And then it's a liability for the police not to have it.
Yeah,
And it's 2026 and we don't have better non-lethal options.
Right.
Questions that need answers.
I think that's a really fair question.
Is it worth inviting the chief to come and talk to us about this?
no,
I think it's pretty
I mean, I think his position's clear.
Yeah.
I think we have to be clear in ours.
Yeah.
And I'm very hesitant right now around this. And I apologize because I should have read it more carefully before this meeting, but I did not. Well, this is our, we've had several discussions about
But
this
this is
already.
their first, this is their first discussion of this article.
Right.
So if you feel like you need more time, if we feel like we need more time to discuss this.
So the
Yeah.
question of how the community wants to be policed.
What'd you say, dear? I'm sorry.
It's a question of how the community wants to be policed.
Precisely.
And if the community doesn't want these in their arsenal, then the police are there to serve.
You know, and frankly, I can't see Ellie Mae biting anyone.
What did you say?
I can't see Ellie Mae biting anyone. Have you met the dogs? They're sweet little puppies. Anyway, the point being is, yeah, I need more time on this, actually.
Okay. All right.
I'm-
So then
I'm also happy to come back next month or talk to anyone in between. I'm trying to reach out. I am going to have a conversation with the Somerville counselor who proposed this. So I will get some information from them and yeah, I think it makes sense to table and sit with it.
Okay. All right, so this will come back for discussion next month.
Yep.
You can share that, right? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on that.
Thank you,
Sarah.
Sarah. It's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, thank you guys. Good luck
Tomorrow.
with the rest of your marathon.
We're having fun. Okay. Now, thank you. We are going to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh,
It's like a star.
oh, I was just going upstairs. All right, good morning, everyone.
Wow.
All right, so now, page 35.
Yes,
All right.
this is not new.
Nope.
This is the idea of excess equity. Does anyone have any questions on this?
I do have one, which is if the ordinance needs to needs to state something for the creation, like the establishment of the second account, an account created solely for the purpose of maintenance of properties seized under the tax title. Like, I wonder if there's a clause that's needed establishing that. And I would ask, like, that's a legal question that I don't know. Like, throughout the code, there's a lot of codes that are around like the establishment of the different boards and commissions. I don't know if that's required for this it's more of a legal question.
I
don't expect you to have the answer.
No, I think this language went by Mandy and into legal already.
Okay.
And that's what came out.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. If that's the case, then that's fine by me. I just want to make sure that it can happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the account is already established for the tax fund.
Okay. Can you just double check that before it comes forward for a hearing next month, just to make sure?
Sure. So what's the question?
My question is, in order for that account, it says an account created for the purpose of maintenance, under 2, is it necessary to have language establishing that account? I want to make sure that it doesn't need to, and if it does, like,
we can
include it, and then I think it'd be ready for hearing.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think we need to discuss that once that's in there.
Okay, I will run that by the folks.
Any other discussion of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do it.
Right. So then, next thing is.
And just to note,
Okay.
I'm going to do a quick review of the work of the committee, et cetera, yada, yada, at the council meeting.
Yeah. This committee?
No, of the tax fund
Oh,
committee.
okay.
And I'm gonna, and there are people to be recognized for their work,
Okay.
and I'm gonna make sure they get recognized. It's gonna be very short and sweet. No discussion, no blah, 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 nothing. Just, this is a report. I'm
I
just
trust you. on
doing
that.
that.
Great. Yeah.
So that's all it's gonna be.
That's great. All right. All right, we are ready to talk tag sales now.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Y'all read it, I'm sure. Basically, I don't want people to be surprised by holding a random tag sale and not knowing that they need a permit. And I talked to the person who's head of licensing there now about this, and it looked good with her that, like, if somebody's doing a lot of tag sales, then they need but somebody's doing a random one once in a while.
I think that's great. Like if it's your business.
Yeah,
There are,
exactly.
there are houses that like
Yeah.
have a tag sale all the time. And
Like
which
for the
means-
summer.
Yeah.
It's a seasonal
Yeah,
business.
I feel like that's a seasonal business, but the rest of this, like, yeah. I want to have sell clothes in my driveway.
Even a requirement.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't. And I don't want the city to show up. People didn't know this, so yeah.
If this does go through and get changed, which I'm sure it will, we should probably have at least kind of announcement being made. So the people who didn't know, now that they know what the text says.
But
if they
we don't need to
didn't know
announce that they don't, that they
didn't know.
no longer have to do something they didn't know they had to do.
Sure, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you do have those tag sales, like it's just tag sale season.
I mean, it's just a quick announcement at council meeting, be like, this thing that we were all breaking the law on, now we're not gonna be breaking.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to
you could
pass
say it
this
in the
council, so-
explanation
Yeah.
in council,
Yeah.
but I don't want to require any city department to do any formal announcement. Well, I can't. They wouldn't do it. So,
That helps.
there's that. Yeah, we can need anything else.
It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So now this municipal payment agreements. Yeah, I need a Google Doc to be, I tried to copy it, like there were multiple typos and to compare this language to what Al Norman sent, like, I need more time.
Who brought this forward?
The city. So if you look at,
Okay.
oh, Mandy, that's the page prior,
Well, that doesn't actually say.
I have drafted a payment agreement.
Oh,
for
a
the
payment
bylaw.
agreement for the bylaw. So that means
I think that's what this
Yes.
is. And it says bylaw and the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the concerns that we got by email are a desire for us to make explicit what is in state law. I don't think we need to do that. What's in state law is in state law and we are governed by it.
Yeah.
And it's there, it's in the law.
And that's worth naming because the same argument from the same person came forward wanting to reiterate state law and the ordinance that you're putting forward. And we're saying, no, we can reference it.
Right. Right. I mean, I appreciate as much public information and education as there can be. Great.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing to me. Putting it in the ordinance is also not necessarily great public education. It just makes ordinances unwieldy to quote state law, but then may change and then we have to update the ordinance. It gets messy. So I wouldn't do that. There was one other question that was brought up about payment agreements and interest, which I don't know enough about to have an opinion on. But it started me as a question for the person who drafted the ordinance or the mayor's office, whoever, is sort of bringing the ordinance forward.
I mean, it seems, obviously the essence of it is to keep people in their homes.
Yeah.
Right? To allow a process by which people can pay down their taxes in a reasonable way. That there is a contract between the person, the resident, owner of the house and the city. I think that's very important politically that we allow this. This is an anti-homeless situation, similar to the tax fund. It's the same, intent behind it. So I think it's crucial, important. And I didn't even know she was doing this, but I'm very happy she has done this.
Questions were brought up on the timeline. So it goes up to 10 years. Mandy decided on 5.
Where even is the 5-year thing? All I want for Christmas is
All
searchable
payments
PDFs.
agreements shall comply with the following requirements. It's paragraphs 1, 2.
Okay,
All
in that
all
one.
payment agreements shall comply.
Thank you.
5 years, shorter term agreements available.
No, yeah.
A lot of, I mean, the amount of people going into tax title has grown. It was relatively small. It is now bigger. Because money's tighter, and that's what happens.
I would be curious to hear what the, like, what Mandy's thinking was behind making it a 5-year term, if state law allows up to 10 years. Like, what are the compelling reasons to do that? Because I imagine she had a reason. Versus the compelling reasons. I can imagine the reasons to make it longer. So that's a question that I'm gonna ask either, like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the process is.
State law allows for 10 years. Are we allowed to reduce it to 5? Does that even within our purview?
If state law allows for 10 years, then my guess is yes, like municipalities can probably, but it's a reasonable question.
Can, Tammy please invite Mandy to our next meeting so we can ask her questions? That's what I would like to do. Are you, do you have a?
I'll just,
objection to that?
not right now.
You can, I'm okay if you object to it.
No, I'm not objecting to it
Okay.
at all. Is anybody online there?
No, that's why we're so big.
Mandy's been having some difficulty attending meetings lately. She's having some.
We are recording. We are recording.
Okay.
And it will be posted. So,
Yeah, even if people aren't watching.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm sorry to hear that though.
Okay.
I'm just noting that.
Yeah.
So,
But a request is fine.
invite, if possible,
Hmm.
understanding if that's totally not, if that doesn't work, then she doesn't have to say yes.
Right. Then we can find another way to
Mhm.
aggregate questions and
Mhm.
and send them to her.
Oh, I think a good idea would be sending her an email with questions.
Yeah.
Good question.
How about we do that?
How about you send her an email? But she's very good on answering her
Okay.
email right away.
Okay. So could we? Would you be willing to draft an email to Mandy right now and people can ask what the questions they have are? Write them there.
My instinct is to not draft that as a group right now, because that doesn't sound like a fun group project, but maybe people can send me their questions by to like.
People send Mandy your questions. I will not send them through you. Send Mandy your questions.
Yeah. It's a little more annoying for her to do it one by one, but
Okay, so we're making a collective agreement. We will send Mandy our questions.
Yes.
And you can cross that out. And hopefully it'll all be answered
Mm-hmm.
in writing.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Good.
Works for me. Cool. Is the rodenticides the next thing on the agenda? I don't want to skip.
last thing.
All right. Great. Before we're done, let's just recap for Tammy which things that we're ready for are ready for a hearing. Okay, great.
My turn. Introducing an ordinance banning the use of escars, which are second generation anticoagulant rodenticides on municipal owned and managed property. I've been working with Mass Audubon on this, and they have a statewide campaign. They're trying to get it banned statewide, but it keeps getting sent to committee and study.
Death by committee.
As you know, so what we're doing now is getting it passed municipality by municipality. After this, we could apply for a home rule petition. It's more of a statement than a passing, but it's just to get the ball rolling. The other fun thing is that this is in the Ways and Means meeting at the state level, so it's also been talked about there. we have the full support of the health director and the other folks, the department heads around town. The reason why we want to ban SCARs is because they do not solve the rodent problem. They ingest the rodenticide and then they go about their little rodent lives, and then predators who eat these rodents then are secondhand subjected to these rodenticides, causes internal bleeding, lack of blood clotting, and they die. And that is our natural defense against rodents, and we need them.
Yeah, that's so ironic.
So many other ways to, and the other thing is like, it's also, they have those black boxes. The rodent will come in, eat it, go away. So it doesn't solve the problem. It just goes out into the wild. There are other ways to solve the problem. You can have vitamin D, some sort of like corn gluten meal. You can use birth control for rats, contraceptives.
I like it. Let's do that.
Condoms.
Sorry. Little rubbers in every black box.
Right.
It's just a pill. No, not even. It's I don't know what it is. It's just a little.
Could use
So yeah,
traps. You can actually trap a rat.
yeah. I mean, rats are very smart. That's the
Yes,
issue.
they are.
Is that it's not like catching a mouse. It's you're dealing with a little bit of mastermind. So we gotta trick them. That being said, yeah. Any questions?
No, it's very important.
We love owls and
Thank you for
foxes.
bringing
We
this
love,
forward.
we love raptors.
Yeah, we love raptors.
If it is enforceable, I would definitely be inclined to do this as an ordinance, not a policy, because
It is.
the
It can be passed however.
preface here.
But Michael Thoreau was asking preferred it to be a policy rather than an ordinance. And I
I'm
don't
confused.
have much knowledge on
Page 51
why that would affect him differently.
of the packet.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I would also prefer an ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Enforceable.
I don't know how
Right,
it
a
affects him
policy is
differently,
like-
It's codified. Or policy is,
but it doesn't change anything for him if it's policy or ordinance, I guess.
if he's in support, then it doesn't.
Okay, cool.
But it does matter that if someone in the future wasn't in support, they could change the policy.
Right.
An ordinance is always better.
Yeah.
Right.
Does this in any way stop the sale of rodenticides?
No, because this is just municipal property, so it's about the city buying
Just,
it, but
I
it's
see.
not about.
Okay,
But
so we
can-
can't stop the farmers exchange from selling
Well,
it.
we can pass a home rule petition.
Yeah,
I think it's subject to mayoral approval,
okay.
and I know she's iffy on our rodent issue, so I want this to work and to be in play for her to be able to see that
Probably because of the DPW trauma.
exactly.
Yeah, well, she'll get over that eventually.
Yeah, and I think the DEP would also, the policies that the DEP put in for DPW cleaning up is this.
Okay,
So
all right,
we're all there.
okay.
So that also strengthens the need for an ordinance rather than a policy.
Yes,
Right.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Ordinance,
It's always stronger to codify things.
yeah.
Cool. Sounds great. Great. Okay, so then we feel that's ready for a hearing? Yeah. Yes. Okay, so then let's look back and see what are all the things that will be hearings next month, and Rachel's going to facilitate. My plane gets in from Europe at 4:30, so I might make it, but it's unlikely that I will have the energy. I will be jet lagged. So the things that we want to discuss for hearings are correct me if I'm wrong, EV first, the Patty's one on the text title.
Excess equity.
excess equity. Tag sales. Yeah, and rodenticides, those four, ready for hearings. So then my plan is that we'll meet in May. Those will be ready for a hearing in May. They can probably come to full council in June. In May, I'm tired. We can vote on them in May.
I'm sorry, rodenticide, excess equity, EV language, and what was the first one?
Sales?
Okay, so.
And then still meet in June. But we won't pass any.
We won't bring anything to full council in
Yeah,
June.
in June.
Yeah.
Did you all see it? Okay, no. Okay, so the next meeting is scheduled on May 13th, 2026, 6:30 here. There, unless otherwise posted. Can I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
That is a vote. That's a vote, yes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:57.